This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cardano. Welcome to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And normally I do a birthday boy on a person who's still alive and all that. Saying, well, this person is 50 years old and all that. But unfortunately, sometimes you gotta go with a moment that person is actually dead. And this guy was a legend in MLB, especially for the Blue Jays and the Phillies. In fact, he was an 8-time All-Star, led the league in complete games 7 times, which is hard to do. It's hard to get complete games at all because of the new baseball standards. But this guy, he had a rags to riches story. And yes, of course, everyone knows about the unfortunate, timely death of Doc Halladay, but I still want to join. So anyway, he was an icon for the Blue Jays. Guy's like, what, 6'4", 6'6", or something like that? Guy was huge. So, Roy Halladay was born May 14, 1977, in Arvada, Colorado, near Denver. So, he actually was picked by the Blue Jays in the first round of the 17th overall pick, which was pretty good in the 95 draft. I mean, when you look at, the 95 draft, it wasn't really that great. But anyway, Halladay almost went to the University of Arizona to play baseball, but he signed with the Jays, and he was promoted to the Major League Club in '98. In his second career start, on September 27, 1998, he almost did it. He almost threw a no-hitter. It was a big game for the Blue Jays. Well, it was the last game of the season. The Blue Jays were stuck in their everlasting third place in the AL East. In fact, he would have had the third no-hitter on the final day of a regular season. The 4 Oakland A's pitchers to combine for a no-hitter, including Five Blue, who recently passed away in 1975. I did not know that was the last day of the season when that happened. Well, I know Mike Witt's perfect game was on the final day of the regular season, but yeah, it was huge. I actually was listening to the Blue Jay NFL on Global, like on Channel 6, like I had the radio thing. Like they would do the radio thing, all that. But then they said, oh, Doc Holladay's throwing a no-hitter and all that. They said that on the CBS broadcast. Or was it Fox? I can't remember. But anyway, unfortunately, though, Halladay on the final, what would have been the final batter of the game, hopefully, was Bobby Higginson, who pinch hit and hit a home run. The Jays won the game 2-1, but still, I mean, it was just horrific. But unfortunately, the good times didn't roll, as Halladay actually put up a 10.6 ERA in 19 games during the 2000 season, which was terrible. It was the worst in history for any pitcher with at least 50 innings pitched. And then he went to Class A didnt, and it looked pretty bad and all of that. However, Mal Queen, who was the Blue Jays pitching coach, said that his total reliance was on his strength to overpower batters with straight-out pitches. Within 2 weeks, Halladay's arm angle went for more deceptive delivery. And, he would not throw over the top. He would do a 3/4 delivery and all that. And it worked out. He put up a 5-3 mark with the Blue Jays in 16 starts in 2001. Little did anyone know that changed a lot of things. And then he bought a couple of sports psychology books, and his wife told him to keep going and all that. Halladay put up 19 wins in the 2002 season, which was pretty impressive. But in 2003, he really went up the chute. He went 22-7. He walked 32 guys, but struck out 204 for a 6.38 strikeout to walk ratio, which was pretty good. Halladay, I had the privilege of watching Halladay throw one of his victories in 2003 against the Orioles in July. But anyway, it was just amazing and all of that. Halladay won the AL Cy Young Award, and it looked pretty good. Unfortunately, though, right shoulder problems would ruin him the next season. But by 2005, things had been changed. He was actually 12-4, and it looked like he was going to be the starting pitcher for the AL at the All-Star game in Detroit. Unfortunately, a line drive off of bat of Texas's Kevin Mench broke his leg, and Halladay would have to sit out the rest of the season. He did sign a 3-year, $40 million contract in 2006, and he looked pretty decent and all that. Halladay was pitching fantastic. All that. In 2008, he was close to winning the Cy Young. He lost to Cliff Lee of Cleveland. In fact, his 206 strikeout and 38 walks made him the 4th pitcher in MLB history to post 2 seasons of 200 strikeouts and less than 40 walks. Halladay looked pretty impressive and all that. He was 17-10. It looked pretty good from the state in Toronto. Unfortunately, the Blue Jays just had to get rid of him, as the Blue Jays traded Halladay to Philadelphia for 3 minor league prospects: Travis d'Arnaud, Kyle Drabek, and Michael Taylor. Taylor would be a flop. Kyle Drabek would be kind of a flop. Travis d'Arnaud was actually good until the Jays traded him to the Mets in that superstore deal that saw got Jose Reyes and R.A. Dickey. Well, anyway, the Phillies wanted Roy Halladay as early as the 2009 trade deadline. They traded for Cliff Lee when they couldn't get Halladay. But the funny thing was that, Amaro actually GM Amaro Jr. traded Lee away. Regardless, so he pitched pretty well. He won 20 games in September of 2010, making him the first guy since Steve Carlton to do that, and that was in 1982. But he was the first right-handed pitcher to do that since Robin Roberts in 55 for the Phillies, of course. He looked pretty good. He actually pitched a no-hitter in June 2010. Actually, at the same time as the Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So anyway, Halladay made a fantastic moment and all that. Game 1 of the NLDS, his first postseason start ever, because the Jays never made the postseason. He pitched against the Reds on home turf, and despite giving up a walk to Jay Bruce, the rest of the way, he was El Perfecto. He threw a no-hitter 4-0, and it was just shocking. I had never seen a no-hitter on TV. All that. And, it was a great moment for me, being 25 at the time. Anyway, Halladay threw the second postseason no-hitter in MLB history, and of course the first since Don Larson's perfect game in 1956. It was just amazing. The Phillies would win a chance to go to the NLCS. They lost against the Giants, though. He took home the Cy Young unanimously. He was the first Philly since Steve Bedrosian in 1987 to win it. And Bedrosian was a relief pitcher. And in fact, joined Gaylord Perry, Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, and Roger Clemens as the only pitchers in MLB history to win the Cy Young in both the American and National League. 21-10 in it. Not bad for his first year in Philadelphia. All that. So yeah, he threw that perfect game in 2010. So it was just amazing what he could do. 2011, he did quite well. He finished second in Cy Young voting to Clayton Kershaw. 2012, he had some issues, but he finished 11-8. He decided to retire December 2013. He had injuries that were really hurting. His right shoulder was just killing him. So he retired. Anyway, so he had a weird approach to pitching. It was just amazing how in 2000 he just was a shell of himself. But thanks to sports psychiatry, he got better. Anyway, Halladay has 2 children, Braden and Ryan. Braden actually committed to play baseball at Penn State. And then he was selected by the Blue Jays in the 32nd round of the 2019 draft. Halladay and his wife would invite children and their families from the hospital for sick children to come up to Blue Jay games. And was the cover athlete for MLB 2K11. I remember. I think I played that game. Yeah, 2K11 for the PS3 was one of my best games around, which I was a great hitter for. Too bad there's not too much footage of it. Unfortunately, the problem was his legacy is a little bit tainted because of how he died in November 2017. Crashing into the Gulf of Mexico. He was a good pilot and all that. But it was like, that was kind of weird and all that. An autopsy said that Halladay Halladay's blood contained morphine, hydromorphine, amphetamines, an antidepressant, fluoxetine, a muscle relaxant, laclofen, and a sleep aid, which was Ambien. He was impaired by his drugs. Yeah, he had drug combination similar to a speedball. And a lot of people said that, he was actually doing acrobatic moves over the water, but that was kind of wrong. All that. Anyway, it was just ugly. Despite all that, the Phillies and Blue Jays both have retired his numbers. The Jays retired his number 32, and the Phillies would retire his number 34, and all that. He got into the Hall of Fame in 2019, his first year's eligibility with 85%. His wife and sons actually didn't want him to wear a logo on his cap. It would have been a Blue Jay. It would have been amazing and all that. When the Phillies got Bryce Harper from Washington, free agency, Harper refused to wear 34, the number he made famous in Washington, because of Halladay. He now wears number 3. All that. So it was just amazing what could happen. But Doc Halladay will always be a Blue Jays legend. Yeah, he threw a no-hitter and perfect game in 2010 for the Phillies. Yeah, him leaving Toronto was just unforgivable in my mind. But the fact is, he's a great player. And, the guy was low and almost ended his baseball career in 2000. He almost ended it. But he used his pitching techniques, and within 3 years, got a Cy Young. That's a rags to riches story if I ever heard one. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.